Welcome back to the program. Joining me now is Brad Chambless. He is the new chairman of the Arkansas Bankers Association. I think in his day job, he is the CEO of Farmers and Merchants Bank, yes, which
That's
also
correct,
includes
yes,
the Bank of Fayetteville, and Susannah Marshall, who is the Arkansas Bank Commissioner. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You guys have just had a fun week together, haven't you? So how did
Yes,
the
sir.
convention go? How'd it go?
Excellent.
It was outstanding. We made a few changes this year to reinvigorate our membership, and the Commissioner's Day was wonderful yesterday, so very, very thankful.
Good. Tell me a little bit about what your goals are going to be as chairman. Every chairman kind of comes in with a little bit of a different passion project and to grow the organization.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, elder exploitation from the financial sector, Roby, is very growing. It's very prevalent right now. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. Coming out of the pandemic, bad actors start to show up. And then technology kind of blows that up too with social media and different things from the bad actor side. The other passion that I have, and I want to make sure we put more focus on at the association level, is taking care of our active service members and veterans. So that is a real passion of mine. And then finally, and kind of overarching, making sure that the association and my leadership reaches out and embraces every bank in Arkansas so that they all receive the same services and products equally across any sector of any county that we have in our great state.
All right. Assess the state of banking for me. You see it from a regulatory perspective. I want to get your perspective on the health of Arkansas banks and what you see them coping with or struggling with.
Absolutely. And I will say, Robbie, we're starting 2024 in good shape. We have $168 billion of assets in Arkansas's 80 banks. And so we're really in a good position. 2023 across the industry was a little challenging. We started 2023 off with some high-level news. I think you and I visited about that last
Right.
year. And that has seemed to level off to some degree. There's challenges that persist. I am very confident about where our Arkansas banks are and how they're going to perform in 2024, but this interest rate environment is still a challenge for them to manage effectively. And of course, you always have cybersecurity risk. That is a top level. I think in 2024, profitability, all the pressures on non-interest expenses, declining non-interest income, that is going to be a struggle for our institutions. But every quarter, almost without fail, Arkansas banks beat the national average in profitability metrics, in asset quality metrics, and capital metrics. And so I'm very positive that we'll continue that momentum during the year. You know, one of the things that makes it so important for our institutions is that they are really conservative bankers. By and large, they stick to that traditional business model.
They're all conservative bankers. I know them all, and they're all conservative, and that's a good thing. So.
It helps us through all the times.
All right. Tell me, from your perspective, Brad, your bank personally, as well as the banking industry as a whole, you feel like you're coping with this high interest rate environment that does not seem like it's going to change in the near future?
I think that I would agree with that and the Commissioner that we don't believe that the interest rates are going to change that much in the near term. We think it's going to stay higher and elevated for longer. But I think all banks in the state are poised to take advantage and thrive in that environment. We're all a little bit different. We all have a slightly different business model. But I would say that the conservative nature of Arkansas banks as an industry has really put us in a position to be perfectly fine in the near term until rates do start to go down.
Is it bringing deposits back?
Sir?
Is it bringing deposits back to the bank?
There are some deposits coming back to the bank.
Yeah.
We're starting to see that again. So time will tell. Time will tell as we move further out. So
I'll tell you what I see on deposits, Robbie, is the competition that our banks face, both on price and availability, because there's so many more choices out there these days. But our community banks are the leaders for deposits.
Brad just needs to go buy up a few more banks there and consolidate a few things there to make that happen. Let's talk a little bit about one of the goals that you mentioned earlier, and this is this elder care, elder abuse situation that you're seeing. There's been legislation passed to allow banks to be more proactive on that front. Kind of explain or walk through the problem and how banks are addressing that.
Perfect. It is a heightened concern, I think, for all banks, and I think the Commissioner would agree. We are seeing higher levels of fraud, and when you talk about elder fraud, that's a generic term. We're looking at specifically financial exploitation. So the problems as we see it come from two basic functions, I believe. Number one is the generation they grew up in. My parents are a prime example. If you said you were going to do something, they took it as the truth. If you shook hands with them, they took it as the truth. Very high level generationally of trust. I hate to say that trust is not there in our current environment that we live in. But the exponential multiplier, Roby, is social media and technology. And that generation thinks they fully understand it, and that is not necessarily the case either.
People come phishing, emails, get sensitive data from them. There's security breaches at times and things like that. And so when you guys, and you can speak to this from the regulatory perspective, you from the bank perspective, just when you see that activity going on, what are you allowed to do? What can be done to prevent or stop some of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Historically, we were pretty much handcuffed. We were limited in how we could move forward under privacy and confidentiality laws. I would applaud the Arkansas legislature in 2021. They passed a statute that gave banks one weapon, which on our frontline bankers, they know their customers. We're in small banks, we're community bank driven in Arkansas. We know our customers, so if they start behaving different, if the patterns and transactions look different, if checks start coming out of sequence that is not normal, they recognize that. And the legislature passed a statute that allowed us, if we have reasonable belief that something is not right, we can slow that transaction process down. Okay. Sometimes that would be a customer with an odd person with them, and you sense that coercion or something just not being right, we can slow that process down. And I applaud again the legislature for passing that to protect consumers.
Got about 45 seconds. How does this play out on the regulatory front?
It's very important. We were part of the working group when that legislation was drafted. We appreciate that effort because we're seeing it from the consumers who call in and complain, banks reporting to us that this fraud against all parties, but especially the elders or those that are vulnerable, it is on the rise. And as Brad said it perfectly, technology is a wonderful tool. It's what we want and need in financial services, but it brings with it a lot of risk. And so partnering with each other, continuing to see that, and I hope at a national level, from a regulatory perspective, I can assure you that'll be a focus for us for many years to come.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. All right, Susannah, thank you so much for being here. Brad, thank you so much for being here. Best of luck with everything. I'm sure we'll be hearing from both of you a lot in the near future.
Thank you, Roby.
Thank you so much.
We're back with more right after this.